we're back. Our next topic is Aries Communications. Aries Communications is encouraged by the district for all of your communication with stakeholders. The Aries Communications, obviously, because of its name, you recognize that it is linked to the Aries Student Information System. And because of that, Aries Communications messaging system has access to the home language of all of your students, the names of the guardians, whether they share a last name or don't share a last name with the students themselves, who the guardians are. Sometimes there are more guardians than just mom or just dad. And it makes communication really much easier without your having to dig around and find information. In addition, Aries Communications keeps a record of all the communications you generate through it, whether it's announcements, which are one-way, or direct communications, which are two-way. And so you don't have to dig around through your various accounts that you, set up to find that one message in which there is salient information. Our Aries accounts might look slightly different, but I think they're quite similar. This left column is where you navigate to find what you're looking for. As long as you're on Pages, which is the default, you should see Communications right here. And by tapping on Communications, you'll be taken into the Aries Communications messaging system. On the left is the series of groups to which you belong. And in the center, it knows who you are and even what time of day it is. And this is the feed for all of my announcements that I've been receiving. This is mine, and I belong to district. You won't see this because I don't believe you'll see this, at least, because you can't send messages to the district, but you will have your school site and you will have your classes listed here individually. Hold on, I'll show you a picture from a teacher so it's a little bit more clear. There we go. We have the school, classes, and then groups down here are groups outside of the classes themselves. In the past, when we created classes, these classes were generated with the section number as part of its name, and it made it a little difficult to remember which was which period was French 1, French 2. So I'm going to show you how you can change this and even provide yourself with a little avatar to help differentiate between the classes. From here on out, I'll work with my groups, but you can assume that the functions are just like your classes. So if I tap on Tech Training Specialist, and we'll pretend that that's French 1, if I go up here, you can see that we have a clear name, so I don't need to change that. And we have a little avatar that means something to us. If I want to know who's in this group, I can tap on the I, and over here on the right, I can see who the owners and members are. But also right here, as promised, next to the name that is there is a set of ellipses, and if I tap on that, I can edit that name. And so for teachers who have section numbers, they might see instead of section 4045, you can change that to French 1, period 1, or whatever is most meaningful for you. And of course, the avatar, go ahead and select something or remove this one and change it into something else. It's not the most important thing, but it does help when you're trying to keep all your various classes straight. I'm going to tap that closed. I'm going to go over here. And from here is where I can send a message. This is not a deep dive training, but I just want to sell you on the idea that this is a really cool tool that's ready to go. So here's my class, and to send an announcement to my class, which is one way, and I will go to everybody unless I modify it. If I tap that, I can choose a subset of my whole class, or I can add a second class. Down here, you'll notice it says type your English announcement. It's telling me to type my English announcement because Aries already knows that English is my native language. If I type here, test message, which is a very common thing for me to type, my message is ready to go. If I wish to add an attachment, I may do that. If I wish to customize, there's a couple ways I can do that. I can tap on that little button and it'll give me time to do that. Or if I tap next, it will give me all kinds of options. I normally send to all channels. By sending to each mode, I know that my parents and students have the best chance of getting this message. I would never send just an SMS because parents and students need to opt in their own Aries Communications accounts to receive text messages on their smartphones. I can see this message is going to both students and their guardians. Obviously, if students don't have email, they won't be suddenly having email. So keep in mind that if you just want it to go to guardians or just students, you can make that option. And again, you guys can go through and customize each of these versions. You want something different in the email than you want on your voice call, or you want to use your own voice in the message, you can do that. And to do that, you tap on the customize button and walk through it. For detailed instructions for this, there is a distance classroom resources website that I will refer you to at the end of our 4 pieces in this playlist. I'm going to tap on next, and this is my favorite page. I wouldn't want you to miss it. It is a summary of what's going to happen with my message. Again, I have a small group. I know these people, but you may have a much larger group. So this is going to go to 4 people. It'll land in their feed. It'll land in their email, but just 2 of them have approved text messaging, and 1 of them has approved voice calls. The others have opted out of that. If I scroll down, I see everybody's name. I see what language the message is going to arrive in for them. And I also have a review of who's getting what when. I now have the option to select the day and time that this message goes. And if I want it going every Friday morning or every Tuesday morning, this is a great way to send reminders about your Google Meets or about special events you have going on at school. Okay, not going to schedule this one. Now, if I hit send, it's going to send right away. And my colleagues don't mind that, but I do. So I'm going to go ahead and just go up here to the upper right and cancel that message. Those are all announcements. And when I'm in my feed, that means that's what I'm sending when I tap on that little plus sign. However, if I want to send personal messages, one-to-one direct messages, or one to whatever number you want, I can first check and see if there's a conversation I've already begun with this person and select to continue that message. Or I may create a new message. And to find my student, it's just as easy as typing in the beginning of their name. And of course, then all the Linda Molders are going to come up if I go that direction. And perhaps I have a message for the mom or the dad or colleagues or a student. If I tap a student, I can then also add guardians. If I don't want the student in the message, I can remove the student and just go to guardians. The only tricky thing about this particular message is that if I go down here, the message is going to be typed in the bottom. It's not very intuitive because I typed my other message up here, but for my direct messages, the message goes over here. So here is message, and I may send. Now, before I type the word message, I could have added an attachment. So again, that is going to disappear the minute I type a letter. Now I can't add an attachment to it, so keep that in mind as you use this system. Since we're talking about Aries, let's go ahead and move into Aries attendance for a minute. You will be taking attendance every day. However, you won't necessarily be seeing your students' faces every day. We have a strategy for that, and that strategy we'll discuss on the no-see-em days and during the Google Classroom portion of our training. But right now, let's talk about the synchronous days where you actually get to see your students' faces in Google Meet. We have a couple of suggestions for keeping track, and I want to share that with you. So I'm in my Google Meet, and we can all pretend for a minute that there are students in this meeting with me. I need to take attendance. A couple of different strategies. One might be that you can, if you have a small group, see all their faces in the available grid view. Now that's only going to be for small groups because you cannot see at this time more than 16 faces at once. And grid view, if I go down to the ellipses in the lowest right-hand corner and change my layout, is available to me. It's called tiled. Now, because that didn't change anything here, doesn't mean it's not going to change something when you actually have other people attending, because I am in here alone. But then you can see the faces and names and check them off the list. Or, alternatively, you could take a quick screenshot. On a personal computer, a Windows 10 computer rather, a screenshot can be easily done with a Shift key, Windows key, and the letter S as in snapshot, all at the same time. The snapshot shows up in the lower right part of your screen, and you simply need to tap it and save it. That's one way. On a Chromebook, there's a different combo, and on a Mac, it's a different combo, and there's also a print screen button. I can put those in our training website so that you know all the different ways to take a screenshot, or you can Google that. Another alternative is to go down a list, and right here there is a Mr. Head and Shoulders. If I tap on Mr. Head and Shoulders and I see that people is underlined, I get a complete list of everyone in this meeting, and I can scroll through that and check off who is here if I wish. I think a better alternative for that would be, again, to take a screenshot, scroll down, take a screenshot, and a third and even easier alternative to that would be to briefly just record the screen, and when you're done with the teaching portion of your meetings, you can then view that and make note of the data. So down here in the lower right hand corner again, you saw that there was the command record meeting. When you record this meeting, this is for your purposes only at this time. So if you see little faces, or this happens to be on tile view also, keep in mind we are not going to record for any purpose in which we'll share with anybody if we see a face. So if I tap on record meeting, it asks for consent. I'll say, hey kids, I'm going to be taking attendance now. And then you scroll through this list right here. And when I'm done viewing, or rather recording all those names, I'm going to tap on that and stop recording. Now, this short recording is going to be curated or stored in my Drive folder, my district Google Drive folder. Pardon me, I stumbled over those words. And let me show you exactly. It's in a folder that has automatically been generated for you. You don't have to really look very hard because it's in a folder called Meet Recordings. Here I am in my district Drive folder because my Google Meet is, of course, with this account as well. And everything is integrated. There is Meet Recordings. It takes a few minutes to render. The longer the meeting, the longer it'll take for it to render. And so I don't see it yet. I'm taking this on July 30th, but the dates are right here. That's the easiest place to check. This is the meeting code. That doesn't really mean much to me. If I want to make sure it's in the sequence of last modified, I will see it here in just a few minutes because it was a pretty short video. But again, it takes a bit to render. We will talk more about recording meetings during the Google Meet portion of this training, but right now our main concern is talking about attendance. So we said taking a screenshot of images or taking a screenshot of the list. We also can advocate for taking a short recording of the list. And of course, there's always the good old-fashioned roll call, which you can either record or just note on a piece of paper. Once you have your data, you're going to enter that in Aries the same way you always have. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I would just make one last recommendation and wait a few minutes into your meetings, your Google Meets, before taking that attendance. And also remember that on your no-see-em days, on your days that you don't have that cohort, I'm going to remind you that we're going to go over a strategy for that during the Google Classroom portion. I think that is part 3 in our playlist. Bye.